In late-breaking news, this last Friday, the 5th of February, Angus Taylor released, a piece of garbage. Typical? Yes. And this future fuel strategy discussion paper is more of a observation of what the current state of affairs are in Australia, and it's definitely not a policy nor a framework about EV adoption, how to improve EV vehicle infrastructure in Victoria, Australia, that is, and it's just very much a little bit of waste of your time. So I'm going to try and summarise it here for you now, so you can start getting onto your local politicians and tell them to please, Angus Taylor, please, dude, do something now. I've only done a first read so far, and here are my main takeaway points. Fleet buyers are good. They feed into the second-hand market, which is absolutely true. But in the paper, they really strongly push for fleet buyers to buy hybrids. Yeah, hybrids. EVs, on the other hand, in this paper, they're okay, but not as green as they say they are. Side note, many Australian studies have already debunked this, and Angus and your department and its own figures, you've got this wrong on many levels. I've left a link below for you so you can correct it. And here's a bit about how most EV buyers actually, we don't use grid power. Most of us actually use, like I am right now, solar and a battery. So there is absolutely nada going on here about my environmental footprint on the environment. And basically, here's the sum. Here's a figure I want you everyone to quote. If someone says to you, EVs aren't clean because, that piece of garbage from The Guardian, not The Guardian, that UK paper last year who homogenised a lot of garbage together from, I think it was Renault who originally started it all through a paper, and essentially it was backed by fossil fuel companies. If you drive a EV in Australia and you charge from the grid, your impact on the environment is actually 40% less than an equivalent internal combustion engine car. So remember that, 40%. Okay? Alright, I'm getting a little angry. I'll try to calm down. Alright, now let's get back to the actual paper, shall we? Oh, and side note, obviously, as our grid is filled with more and more renewable technologies like solar, wind and battery storage, hydro, you name it, electric vehicles will become cleaner and greener to operate, so that 40% just gets even better, doesn't it? But does this paper mention that? No. So, this 39-page document is pretty much an easy to read, easy to understand thing about basically where the government's priorities lie. It's right here in this schematic diagram. They do very little for pure battery electric vehicles. They support hybrids because, they burn stuff and they keep the maintenance cost of car high, the fossil fuel industry happy, and car manufacturers and the servicing around them also happy. And they also talk a lot in this paper about fuel security and keeping fuels around as long as possible. It's all BS and, pathetic. No incentives to EVs, no disincentives to petrol cars, no petrol standards, no emission standards. This thing is, again, just a hot, big mess of garbage. So what I want you to do is this. Have a read of it, okay, and give some government some feedback because you have until April 5 to do so. And importantly, you need to start talking to your local member from both sides of the house, all right? So if your ruling area is Liberal, speak to that person, but also speak to the opposition person. They need to know as much as possible that, EV support in this country is lacking, that it is the future of transportation. It will mean that we meet our CO2 commitments as per the Paris Agreement, and importantly, it will stop climate change, okay? So cars, they put out 20% of our CO2 emissions per year, and electrifying that and powering it with renewable sources is a way to completely change that aspect of our lives. Yeah, sure, there's other things we can do around how we power home, industry and things like that, but the car, vehicles, private vehicles in particular, where more than 50% of the total fleet and our CO2 footprint, they need to actually go electric ASAP. And this paper is just, is absolutely terrible. And speaking of terrible, for those who actually in South Australia, heads up, your government is now looking to actually introduce the Victorian taxes coming July 1 this year about taxing you on the kilometres you travel at 2.5 cents per kilometre, meaning that your average driver will pay $350 to $500 per year to use an electric vehicle to make the air cleaner and greener for us all to breathe. Meanwhile, you have all these awesome people driving on these massive petrol burning cars that are basically polluting and causing harm to our health, the environment and everything like that. So again, join a committee. I myself, I've on the Infrastructure Victoria Community panel right now for electric vehicle adoption in Victoria. I've been trying to speak with Lily D'Ambrose, who's a minister for energy and electric vehicles and things like that in Victoria. And yeah, I'm trying my hardest, and I hope what I do here incentivizes and encourages and revs everyone up to get out there and talk to the people, because friends, family, politicians, they all need to hear how good EVs are, and they really are good, aren't they?